Hello, Trojan fans. Welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast on a Tuesday. Little reunion Peristyle Podcast. The Ryan Abraham, Chris Trevino Mothership Show is back. It's been a little while since we've both been in studio, both been able to do this at the same time. So we're excited to be here. We are live on our YouTube channel at Inside Troy, if you want to check that out. And we're also, of course, recording this across our Peristyle Podcast platforms all over. If you have the Apple Podcasting app or Google or any of those, you can check out the Peristyle Podcast like you always can. But we also, if you want the video version, we're doing that live on YouTube as well. If you have any questions or comments, get those questions flowing again through the emails, podcast@uscfootball.com. Send us a question. What do you want to know about what's going on in USC football? And Chris and I will do our best to answer it. You can also call or text us at 424-254-9141. And if you happen to have like an iPhone, you have the Apple Podcasting app. If you follow us over there and leave us a 5-star rating and review, that does really help to grow the show. We haven't had a review in a little while, so send us a review. That would be great. We'd love to read them on the air when we get the things going. And, you know, I love when Chris is in studio. We get to talk to him, just hear what Chris has to say. He's always very excited about everything that's going on in the world of USC football. Loves doing the live stuff. Can't keep him away. Chris, how you doing, man?
I've just now in this moment realized why I've been so stress-free the last month. It's because I haven't been doing the live show here. So yes, welcome back to all of it. And welcome back to Ryan. He was out of the States for a long time, got sick, so that delayed the reunion. I was on a break earlier. That's why we didn't do a show. So yeah, we're finally back in studio together, and it feels like 2 years, to be honest, since we've done a show. So
it's been a little while. There's been some kind of newsy stuff here. I'm just fixing your shot a little bit here because, you know,
yeah, get it all done.
Yeah, I think that works a little bit better. It's been a little bit since, you know, the things have been going on. We're going to talk. I know you guys have the, Composite 2-Star Recruits podcast coming up on Wednesday.
Did you hear our new intro?
I haven't heard the new intro yet.
Okay, well, we got an intro, so you're not the only podcast on this show that has or on this network that has an intro. So
you got your own intro now.
Got my own intro. Shout out to Will for making that for me. So,
thanks, Will. You guys were like a little bit short of 4 hours, huh? So that's didn't quite make.
I'm actually gonna put that on you because we had 2 voicemails that came in. I don't know how to do voicemails, so if one of those had gone in, we would have hit the 4-hour mark. So I'm gonna put that on you boss man.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know nothing about anything, how to get voicemails, text messages. I know none of that behind the scenes stuff. So
right.
You have to do it for me.
I'll help you out. Yeah, I was down for the count last week, unfortunately. We were going to try to do the show last Tuesday, and we weren't able to because I was sick. But then once the news broke that the Big Ten schedule release came out, I was feeling better, came in the studio, did a remote with Shotgun, so you make sure you check that out. I did a podcast yesterday with Harvey Hyde. We talked about some of that too. And Chris will have another Composite 2-Star Recruits podcast coming up tomorrow. But we're going to get a little bit of the recruiting stuff because that's sort of what's happening right now. I want to get Chris's thoughts on the Big Ten schedule, Clay Helton returning to the Coliseum potentially in 2025, new stadium for the USC women's lacrosse and soccer. So we get to all that kind of stuff. And also there was some news that came out from some of these meetings in DC that the IRS isn't looking too kindly upon NIL collectives that are 401c3 or 3C status, which is tax exempt. So I kind of reached out to the House of Victory because they were planning on doing that. So kind of get your thoughts on all that kind of stuff before we jump into it. Want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's. It's been good. I've been back for a week now, so I got to go in there and pick up some supplies. No Trader Joe's in Singapore that I found. Got to work on that. But go over to TraderJoe's.com. They got a lot of good ideas. I love doing. Are you a recipe guy? Like, just doing recipes are kind of fun. You're just like, oh, I need to buy this. Here's the instructions, and make something cool. I don't know if you do that.
I am a recipe guy. I do find something, whether it's on YouTube Shorts or just, hey, I want to make X. Let's look it up. A lot of good reviews. Oh, simple. After you scroll down 900 words of their life story to get to the bottom to the actual recipe, yes, then I do the recipe.
That is like a common thing now where you're like, do you want to go to the actual recipe? Yes, I don't care about all this other stuff. But speaking of, if you want, you can do that on the Trader Joe's website. They actually have a podcast. So their episode 64 is out right now. Trader Joe's Splendid Summertime. So there's some good ideas there. But if you like cooking outside, their featured video on the front page is TJ's Cooks in the Great Outdoors. So some cool ideas for outdoor cooking over at TraderJoe's.com. But thanks again to Trader Joe's. They've been awesome to us over the years, and it's been great to have them be a sponsor. And I love talking about them and checking out. We had a comment in there. And by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube, we don't really have a bunch of questions today, so put question in your comment, and I'll start and get to it later on. But Scott says, TJ's frozen mac and cheese, chef's kiss. Mwah. So, I don't think I've had the frozen mac and cheese.
There were a couple of kids I used to babysit for early in my days in the Long Beach area, and that's like the only thing I was like not allowed to give them, but like that's the thing they wanted to eat. Yeah, I would babysit them is the Trader Joe's mac and cheese, and it was so easy to make. So high reviews from the toddlers around town, I guess.
Nice. I love it. I love good mac and cheese is good mac and cheese, but lots of great frozen stuff over there for Trader Joe's. Okay, so we got to jump into this stuff because we got Chris here, and recruiting weekends. That first weekend in June, where things were sort of like kind of slowly chugging along, I guess, on the recruiting trail. And then all of a sudden it was fireworks, and 6 commits come out of the weekend. About half of the official visitors end up committing. I think last year it was like a 4-for-4 weekend that they did. So they got everybody, but this was more visitors, more action, a bunch of commitments. USC goes from number 57 overall class up to number 19.
18, actually.
18 now.
There's some point swinging or whatever, I don't know, updates. So they're 18, actually.
Wow, okay. And then number 2 behind Oregon in the Pac-12, which I guess won't matter a year from now. But that's what you're kind of looking at right now, the Pac-12. So I maybe just kind of get your general thoughts. I know you guys went into a lot of detail on the Composite 2-Star Recruits podcast, but it was a pretty big, just sort of like, I don't know, wake a sleeping giant or something. Just something was sort of, you need a little catalyst or something to happen, and then boom, all of a sudden USC's just moving back up the ranks.
Right. And yeah, if you want more detailed breakdown of every commitment that they got early in that week, we talked about all 5 of those initial commitments. The new one we haven't talked about yet, Elijah Newby, but we talked about all 5 of those, me and Gerard, on the Composite 2-Star Recruits. It's over an hour long just talking about those guys. So if you want a more detailed breakdown on what USC is getting in those guys, go check that out. I highly recommend it. It's a really great episode, almost 4 hours. But just the overall not appearance, but the optics of it, really, really good for USC because, going into this summer, USC's 2024 recruiting class had no juice. They lost several. They've had several decommitments, Aaron Butler, Dylan Williams, and they were just kind of, stagnant a little bit. But you didn't feel like it was in any danger necessarily just because, it was only spring. Recruiting really starts to pick up around this time when official visitors are coming and going on campus and they're getting ready for the season. So there was, in the big picture, I know a lot of fans were worried just because, everyone's getting commitments and USC's losing commitments and they only have 2 right now. Then you got Brian Jackson going, a little bit of momentum, but then everything changed with this first weekend. And obviously USC is having a lot more kids on campus this month of this year than they did last year in June with their, recruiting on faith, Lincoln Riley's first, cycle on campus and hosting kids on campus. So you can see the progress, and they had one big weekend, got 6 commits out of that, technically 7, one that's not public, and then you still have the other emoji from the May official visitors that isn't out there yet. So 2 unaccounted for, but 7 from that weekend is just incredible. And we talked about it on Composite 2-Star Recruits, where we thought like 3 would be a really good number, and then they go out and hit 7. And that's the kind of closing power that Lincoln Riley and the staff has now that you have results behind them. You don't have, hey, this is what we're going to do this year. It's, hey, look at what we did this year or last year. Look what we did with Caleb. Look at this Heisman. Look at 1 win away from the college football playoff, 1 win away from a Pac-12 championship after 4 wins. You have all that on tape, and you can show that to kids when you sit down. You have that something to sell, essentially. You have a foundation to sell, and you can see that being the result of that. And then obviously, coupled with LA and what it has to offer, all that is coming together when USC is hosting these kids for these visits. And that wasn't even the big recruiting weekend. There was a lot of kids, close to a dozen kids that first week, but that pales in comparison to this upcoming weekend. That is the big one, the quote unquote golden hour, like they did last year with the big luau at Lincoln's Place and, going all out in the Coliseum and all that. So that's this weekend. So you can tell you can see how well they did with that kind of quote unquote appetizer round in first week. This is the main course, and it's going to be exciting to see what kind of feedback and what kind of results they pull off this weekend after all said and done. You got 7 the first week. I mean, I dare you say you might be able to get double digits in that one, but impressive what they're doing. And it's so important for the rest of the month just because it's so important to get momentum and have optics going, Ryan, because Ryan, when you're going out of town, or when you're going out,
yep.
You go out a lot. You don't want to go to the club where no one's standing in line, right?
No way.
You want to go to the club where people are trying to get in, where it is popping inside. And it's the same thing with kids and, how it looks. And, when USC's racking up commits in 48 hours and you have kids tweeting like, hey, is this the move? They're tweeting at each other like, hey, is this where we're going? You build that kind of momentum. You build that kind of spectacle. You build a line outside to get in. You're going to get people interested in what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that line on the big recruiting weekend a little bit. But before we do that, guess who's in the chat?
Oh, the Manford NIL initiative?
Moneybags Manford, the Manford NIL initiative. Thank you for the
Manford Collective.
The donation. You didn't have to do that, but we'll put it up here on the screen. I've been working on getting the Composite 2-Star Recruits live. We might do a desert version live. Something we'll see. We'll do something like that. But Manford says, any word on Latrell McCutcheon's status with the team? Rumors of him leaving have been circulating. Can you provide any updates? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been like this, because Latrell came in, there was some like stuff on Twitter about him and the Oklahoma staff not getting along. And there was like, I think some of his family members were, tweeting at the coaching staff. So, him coming in was maybe a little bit surprising knowing that all that had gone on. And, he hasn't really broken into the lineup all that clearly and defined. He got some playing time at the end there. And it just seems like he's, trying to get in there. But, they got Zion Branch coming back. Bryson Shaw seemed to have emerged as one of the top safety options up there. It's already crowded with, Max Williams back and Kalen Bullock back. And then Jalen Smith is healthy again. So there's a lot more competition. And, yeah, it just seemed like he was kind of stuck in that no man's land. But, yeah, I haven't heard anything quite as definite as he is leaving. But we'll definitely check in on that. But, yeah, I mean, it's something that kind of wouldn't shock me, but would at the same time, just because, kind of the stuff that was going on when he came in and all kind of that Twitter drama. But yeah, I mean, I think he can be valuable. He's a really long corner, long defensive back, and athletic. Obviously, people are going to remember that missed tackle in I believe it was the Pac-12 championship game. They'll remember that the most. But I think he is really talented. I still think he has the potential to be a starter and a really good player for this defense. But yeah, we'll have to check into that a little bit more as the week goes on.
Yeah, thanks, Manfred, for that. Just hearing the coaches, Chris, like during the spring, it always seemed like there was positive stuff coming about McCutcheon. It seemed like people were kind of excited for him. So I'm curious to see what happens there. I know there's been some rumors. With the portal open, when the portal won't be open till after the season anyway. And I don't think he would be a graduate transfer or anything, right?
No, because I believe he was a redshirt freshman at the most last year. So.
Yeah. So the portal's not open, so he didn't put his name in the portal, so it would have to be like an after the season sort of thing to enter the portal. But I mean, we've seen guys sort of check out for the season and not do anything, and then but I don't. It seemed like that would be kind of a waste. So, but just keep in mind that the portal doesn't open again. I believe it's December 4th. So probably not going to see him transfer unless it was some kind of graduate thing, which I don't think is going to be the case. So yeah, the appetizer weekend turned out to be more of a smorgasbord than you thought, right? As far as like official visits and commits and all that.
It's like you go to a wedding and they have really good hors d'oeuvres to start things off.
Oh my God, when like crab cakes and things like hefty hors d'oeuvres, like good, like wow, like this could be my dinner. I would just eat these.
Yeah, you just shovel them in.
But it's dinner time now. I think
we had the palate cleanser this week, this past weekend with Peyton Woodyard and Kingston Biliama Asa, the two St. John Bosco targets. They were the only two visitors this week. So, very, slow down a little bit. It's like the salad, before they bring out the main course. So that was what they were working with, two really big important visitors. You got Troy Polamalu on campus for them. So they kind of went all out with those two being the priority.
Troy Taylor Mays.
Yeah, focus all the attention on them. All the staff is there. They're going to Nobu. They're really showing out and doing an intimate visit weekend as opposed to, the dozen or so kids they had the week before and the potentially 20-plus guys they're going to have this weekend.
Yeah. I would say, and when you heard from Dave Emmerich, he tweeted out earlier today, I think it was earlier today, the biggest recruiting week of USC's, year or whatever. There's going to be some visitors during the week, I believe. You have the Elite 11 Finals, which not real quarterback in there for USC, unlike Malachi Nelson last year. And just so you guys remember, so it was almost a year ago. It was June 30th is when the Elite 11 Finals. So we're recording this in our studio, Redondo Beach. Literally like a mile from here is Redondo Union High School, maybe less than that. And that's where you could go check out all these top quarterbacks. That's what we're going to be doing later today. Check-in is tomorrow. I think they're staying Manhattan Beach, and they're going to play in Redondo Beach. And last year we were there to film Malachi Nelson, and then I think, Chris, you looked at your phone and you said, oh, John Wilner's saying that USC and UCLA are leaving for the Big Ten. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then look at my phone, same thing, double check. Back then you could have blue check marks without paying. Blue check mark, John Wilner tweeted it like, oh, okay. And so we both basically came into the studio and did a show from here. So that was almost a year ago.
And then you went live with Josh Pate.
I did go live with Late
the
Kick
studio
Josh.
they had on the studio they had on the field at Redondo Union. So.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. So there was a lot of stuff happened last year at the Elite 11. Chris and I both be over there. There's the OT7 camp later this week.
Not camp, the national championships are in town.
Yeah.
So a lot of going on in LA this weekend.
Right. For recruits coming to Southern California, big, but also USC will be hosting a bunch of official visitors. They're like some of the best wide receivers in the country. So this is a big week of recruiting for USC, Chris.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, the golden hour last year was the biggest. We talked about it on the show, the Composite Two-Star Recruits at the time, that this is probably the biggest recruiting weekend in USC history, in the modern era of recruiting. It's the most kids they've ever had on campus and a very ambitious weekend And they ended up doing, pretty well out of that weekend. Obviously, they didn't get some of the guys they wanted, like Lucas Simmons or Francis Mauigoa, but they did clean up in that weekend. They did get some of them were more delayed. Some were commitments that they got later in the summer, but that was a big enough weekend that left a big enough impression that they were able to stay in the mind of those kids, like a Braylon Shelby, who still took his Texas visit after that and then ended up committing to USC. That was the power of that weekend and just blowing these kids away with all that USC and Lincoln Riley and this program and Southern California has to offer. So you could only imagine what it's going to be like this year, knowing that Lincoln Riley, as I mentioned with the first weekend, they don't have to recruit on faith anymore. They can recruit with some results and a foundation they built with this program. And then obviously the Big Ten move is right there. It's on the horizon. You can see it. It's more real than it was a year ago. They couldn't even use that last year because it hadn't even broken yet. Now that I think about it, because that was at the end of the month. But here you are with that piece of information to sell. You have so much to offer this time around for the Golden Hour. So we're going to end up seeing what those results can be. And early on, I would wager that it's going to be pretty good for USC in terms of the commitments coming out for that weekend.
Yeah, looks very promising. And you want to kind of jump back up there. How far do you think USC can go back up rankings wise? I think Gerard thought potentially like top 10 class.
Yeah, the goal kind of is like that 260 range to be with like some of the other top teams, and they're like at 165 right now or something like that. So I think you're sitting at 8 commitments. So I would say by the end of the summer, you could have 10 more, and you're sitting at like 18, 19. I think you're pretty good. I think that's a solid foundation, and then you just kind of build from there. So yeah, conceivably they could be within the top 10 easily with another 10 commitments, especially with the guys they have coming in this weekend and then for the final weekend at the end.
Yeah. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, we do appreciate everyone coming in there. I think Blackie Chan Play says, hey, man, smash that like button. So get in there. If you're watching us live on YouTube, please like it. And you can subscribe. You can sign up for the notifications. Click that little bell so you know when we go live. We'll be doing a lot more, especially as we get closer and closer to the season. But we also, the website we run, uscfootball.com. I know a lot of people, hey, I just listened to the podcast. I'm just on the YouTube channel, whatever. Tons of content, tons of information over at uscfootball.com if you like reading the written word. But we also do a lot of multimedia stuff too with photos and videos and interviews and all kinds of fun stuff over there. But if you want to sign up for an annual subscription, right now it's like ridiculously cheap, 60% off. It's like 80-something cents a week for the year.
Less than $4 a month.
Yeah, like it's a cup of coffee for the month, and you can get all this great access over at uscfootball.com. And when your promotion runs out, you get free access to Paramount Plus too when you're a subscriber to the site. So all that streaming stuff is really cool. But make sure you go check it out. Obviously that's what pays the bills and stuff around here. That's how we got some exciting news coming as far as like the uscfootball.com team to bring you more content. So stay tuned for all that. But yeah, the more people subscribe, obviously the more we can grow and build our team and produce more content and all of that. So we already have the biggest team out there. We want to keep growing and make sure that you guys get the best possible USC football content that you can. So go sign up at uscfootball.com, 60% off for a limited time. So go check it out. Blackie Chan says, I have a subscription. It's so good. So it's good. It is good. But please jump in there and do that. Follow Blackie Chan because it's great stuff. So Chris, if you weren't a contributor, you'd be a subscriber. I know.
Sure. Yeah. All the way. All the way. For my USC fandom, all the way.
Yeah.
I just realized that I make the joke that none of these people are working, which is funny because that first weekend over those like 72 hours, nobody was getting work done at their respective jobs because of all the commitments. I wonder what that's going to look like after this weekend if they have another commitment spree over a course of 3 days. Like I hope, expense reports and PT reports or whatever reports are due that week because they're going to be late, I feel like, if there's another commitment run.
That was a crazy run. I was under the weather a little bit too when all that was happening, so I was just kind of on the couch, like checking it all out.
Emoji
watch. I did write a story. Gerard did an interview, and I wrote a story for him because you guys were all over the place. Blackie Chan did say, "Let Chris know I'm working from home so I can watch the podcast." He didn't want to be called names, so he is working. He's just working from home.
I work from home all the time. So.
Mark says degenerates. Like, no, not degenerates, Mark. That's not the way it's going to be.
Did you just put it on the screen?
I just put it on the screen. You're not degenerates. We appreciate you.
Wink.
I did an evening show with Shoddy, and we had pretty good numbers.
Yeah,
live numbers
because there are people excited about the Big Ten schedule.
That was pretty exciting. The Big Ten schedule.
It's more real. It's there in front of you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we didn't get to get your thoughts on it, Chris. Outside of the obvious that USC is traveling to Maryland in year one, I would assume big part at your house. We're just going to have everyone come over.
Sure.
Hundreds and hundreds of Peristyle fans.
Hope you like the woods. Hope you're not afraid of the woods at night.
But I think we will do, and Shotgun and I talked about this, we're going to have to do like a bar takeover in every city that you're traveling to for the foreseeable future of this Big Ten schedule. Like a lot of places USC fans haven't been to. When USC went to Austin in 2017, we went to the Key Bar in Austin, which is a USC-owned bar, and it was packed. We had, I think, 200 people inside, like 50 people outside waiting in the rain. It was crazy the amount of people that we had.
See, that's where you want to get in, where people are waiting in the rain to get in.
Yes. That was people, like, they only had like 2 bartenders. Like, we destroyed that place. We had no idea. I thought like 40 people would show up. I didn't realize it was going to be that packed.
Bar takeover, every away game. Let's do it.
I think we have to do that. Where are we going to go in Maryland?
My liver will not approve. What?
Where are we going to Maryland for that?
So there are a couple options that we could do. Looney's is probably kind of the I guess the safest bet in terms of kind of a more energetic crowd bar scene activity, and it's like one of the newer bars on campus. Well, when I was there, it was the newest bar, and it was like the strict one. Like you really had to be 21 to get in.
Okay.
Wink, wink. Other ones, but it was like the upscale bar. It's like for the seniors and juniors of College Park. So that would be one. The more like maybe if you want a more laid back experience, we could go to Lito's Pizza, get some square pizza. They have a bar there too. So it'd be more.
Doesn't sound like what we're looking for.
Okay. And then the like
real bar.
I would say Looney's, and then obviously the most famous one is Bentley's, which is like.
You're saying obviously like people know college.
Yeah, I mean obviously I'm saying that obviously to myself, speaking out loud, but like obviously Bentley's is like our most famous bar, and it's like after a big win, it's like we're going to Bentley's because we're gonna go get hammered. Scott Van Pelt says it all the time. We're going to Bentley's. So
how nice.
But my Maryland friend said, "Don't you dare bring all those USC fans into sacred ground of Bentley." So I don't know if it's not a great bar in terms of like, I mean they might have redone it, but it's like an old bar. It's a divey bar, but it gets packed.
I like divey bars.
It could be gross a little bit. Look, it's a college town bar. I mean
that's fine.
What it is.
We gotta get Scott Van Pelt to come out.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but he actually might go to that game.
I think he probably would.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, he might have to work, right? Does he do like SportsCenter at night on Saturdays, or not really?
That's true during the college football season, so
he might.
Maybe not. But he does go to basketball games all the time.
We'll have to see. I think I told you like I met him once at one of the national championship games that was at the Rose Bowl, and I was taking photos. It was the Florida State Auburn one. And we chatted on the sideline for a while. He was cool. I'm 6'3". He's 3 inches taller than me. He's a tall dude, 6'6" or whatever. But I think we got to get him. Maybe he'll come to the bar takeover if he doesn't go to the game.
I have this vision for the game. First off, that week I want to take over. I want to sit in that chair.
Yeah, you can do whatever.
I want to do a Maryland takeover, and then I have a vision of setting a scavenger hunt around campus and setting the clues on my Twitter, and whoever brings me all the like whatever 5 pieces, I give them some some merch or something like that. That's my dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream I have for this first away game. My personal homecoming.
I love it. So the Maryland one, we have to get that out of the way because any DMV reference you talk about.
Out of the way, yes.
But it's pretty cool just thinking 2024, when you're talking about playing LSU in Vegas,
boom,
playing Notre Dame at home, playing
boom,
Michigan at home,
boom,
playing Wisconsin at home,
boom,
playing Iowa at home.
Boom.
Okay, you're going to Penn State on the road. You're going to the Rose Bowl to play UCLA. Is UCLA home game? I think
it's an away game.
That's an away game that year, yeah. It feels like you got a bunch of Rose Bowls happening throughout the season, which is kind of crazy. Are you going to miss having Cal or Stanford on the schedule? Maybe, but replacing a Washington State with Iowa is a pretty good upgrade, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely an upgrade in terms of marquee games, but in terms of accessibility, it's much easier to drive up to Cal for the weekend or wherever. But yeah, the travel is going to be something, but you're there for more exciting games. You got Michigan coming to the Coliseum. You're going to Ohio State in 2025. You got Iowa and Wisconsin all coming in. You're going to Penn State. You have it seems like every week is a marquee game. It's stacked. It's like a gauntlet, and that's what kids want to play. They want to play at Penn State with the whiteout. They don't necessarily want to play at Cal. That's not it for them. It's those big viewer games, those packed out crazy stadiums, and then the Coliseum. And not retrospect, but on the flip side, is going to be super packed for these games. when they have Michigan coming in, you're going to have Michigan fans flooding in. So USC fans better fill that Coliseum and buy those tickets. And you'll have, Ohio State coming, and you'll have Wisconsin fans coming out here. And so it's going to be some packed stadiums. It's going to be some loud stadiums is what I'm saying. And, as a reporter, we love to cover those games, love to be on the field for those games. So, for me, in my personal view, it's going to be a lot more fun. The travel is going to wear us down a lot more during the season. Maybe not a shotgun because he's already on East Coast base, but yeah, the travel is going to be wears down a little bit more, but I think it's going to be worth it, and we're going to experience some cool games and some venues and some experiences in this new era of USC football.
Yeah, it kind of made it more real, and it's just sort of exciting to see these games on there. And I thought the Big Ten did a very nice job with their Flex Protect Plus, which sounds really dumb, like it's a streaming service slash garbage bag company.
I immediately think of the Flex Seal guy. You seen those where he duct tape, hey, I made a boat out of this thing.
Right.
Yeah. I think of that.
There's a hole in a barrel, and he's plops something on it. It's just
look at that
stuffed. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Which I don't know if that works. But yes, so basically the model that I liked was this 3-3-6 model. So you got 16 teams. You want to be able to play everybody every 2 years and go to every venue every 4 years. So it's sort of a modified version of that where they're not forcing. We were kind of coming up with who should be everyone's permanent rival. There's only 11 total permanent rivals, and most schools have one, like USC and UCLA have each other.
Duh.
Iowa ends up having 3, which is kind of weird, but that's just sort of what they have. You have these natural rivals. Penn State is sort of the second rival to a lot of people, but no one becomes Penn State's rival. I feel like they sort of forced Rutgers, Maryland, that's a rivalry, right?
Penn State doesn't consider us their rival, but we always get up to play Penn State. But it's no, you guys can play each other.
Yeah. But Penn State, Ohio State's big, and Michigan State and Penn State, but they weren't the primary one. So Michigan has 2, Michigan State and Ohio State. Ohio State only has 1, Michigan. So it's flexible, but every 2 years you will have 2 teams that you're paired with, or 3 teams that you're paired with. USC has UCLA every year. For the first 2 years, you have Penn State and Wisconsin. So 2 of the bluer blood programs in the Big Ten, and then the following year it'll be probably 2 different teams outside of UCLA. But the good thing is you play everyone every 2 years. So you look at the SEC, they're doing 16 teams and 8 conference games. Like you could go a decade without playing somebody, which just seems dumb. But I like the fact that if you're a freshman, we're talking about the recruiting class, right? 2024. Someone that's like good enough to play, but maybe not good enough to go to the NFL. He's going to stick around for 4 years. Over his 4-year career, he'll play at every Big Ten venue, as long as there's not some other expansion or anything going on. Yeah. So I like the model. I think USC fans used to being in the Pac-12 or the Pac-10. You're used to just things being dumb. Like, why did you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, this makes a whole lot of sense. Like, oh, this makes sense. This is the way the schedule should be. So I'm pretty happy with the way that came out.
Well, there you go. Have you ever, side question, have you ever been to Happy Valley?
I have not.
Okay.
Have you?
I have been once, and it was for a club swim meet, and there's nothing out there except for, obviously, the campus. If anyone in the chat has been to Happy Valley, they'll back me up. It's like nothing out there. And my only story, because it wasn't during football season, but we went during St. Patrick's Day, and obviously rowdy on campus, but we were driving through, might have been like a Saturday or a Friday. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I saw a girl walking down the street, absolutely plastered, with her shoes on the wrong foot, trying to walk. And that's like the defining image I have of Happy Valley. So I'm sure I'll get a new defining image, but that will always be in my mind.
Looking forward to that trip because I've never been. Madison, to see Wisconsin in 2025.
Cheese curds?
Cheese curds, jump around. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I've been to the Horseshoe, so that's year 2.
Never been.
So that's a pretty cool one.
Big house.
I've been to Nebraska. I've not been to the big house. That'll be a good one too, but that's not on the schedule for the next few years. But I've been to Nebraska. And I think those are the only Big Ten ones I've gone to. I've seen Big Ten schools like Iowa and Illinois and Wisconsin.
Is Iowa the one with the Children's Hospital?
That's a cool tradition there too. Yeah. But I don't think USC will do that until like 26 or 27.
Right.
Going to Iowa. So
we'll miss Ralphie though.
Ralphie is going to be a tough one, but you get to go to Ralphie this year. This is sort of like your farewell tour to the Pac-12 this year with some good ones. You get to go to Oregon. I think Shotgun said that's the only Pac-12 venue he hasn't been to, so he can go to that one. 2 years ago, Ralphie didn't run when I went.
Me and Keely got to see him.
Was it 4 years? 4 years ago, or
it was 3 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's 2021 when they were really bad and they barely won that game.
Oh, I don't think I went to that one.
No, it was just me and Keely.
Okay, yeah. So, but then I think Ralphie was small.
Yeah.
So Ralphie should be a little bigger, and it's a girl. The boy buffaloes are way too big apparently. So so that'll be a good one too. So do your little sort of farewell tour. Check out your last weekender trip to the Bay Area, last trip to Autzen Stadium, last trip to Boulder. Some good stuff there, and then get ready for 2024. I would save up and do some road trips. We'll definitely do bar takeovers, all 4 different trips on the road in the Big Ten country. So that'll be a ton of fun.
Boom.
Boom. I love that. There's also some news, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit with Coach Hyde. Brand new. So where McAllister Field is, it's the Rawlings Stadium. So they're going to play soccer and lacrosse over there. So it'll hold up to, I believe, 2,500 people. The renderings look cool. Carol Folt tweeted it out. So that's obviously been in the plan for a while because USC doesn't have a permanent athletic director right now, obviously. But that's pretty cool. And it just leads people to, okay, when's the football stuff coming? So I feel like this is something you had to kind of get out of the way, get done.
This is a domino you have to push down.
And then, get to the football stuff.
It's a good sign that they're moving towards revealing these things. So, yeah, that one had to go first. And then we'll see the next one as, people have been like hinting at that something's coming. So just wait a little bit longer.
Yeah. Check that out. And then the collective stuff. So if you were following along, some of the reporters that were in Washington, D.C., they had like this NIL summit. And there actually was a report today where there's going to be a bipartisan bill potentially about NIL. You need some answers. I hate the word guardrails, but you need something. The NCAA just sort of like threw it out there, and everyone has kind of different interpretations of what it is. But something that could impact the main now USC collective, the House of Victory. They have a charitable element to it with 501c3 status. And I talked to one of the spokespeople there, and they're going to be okay. It's just there's some of these collectives are just basically like, hey, give money to players. And some of them are like, hey, set this up through a charity where like you're going to come out and do charity work. Essentially what it's going to mean is if you donate money to the collective that you want to go to help pay for the offensive line or the quarterback or something, that's not going to be able to be tax deductible. But there's going to still be a charitable element from the way I understand it. And there still will be kind of charities that House of Victory works with that you bring in players to kind of get involved with that too. So I think that'll still exist, but the main driver of here's money, you got to pay these players because other people are paying the players through a collective. If you donate money for that cause, it doesn't seem that the IRS is going to let you write that off. So that seems like where we are right now. I know, like when I talked to the track and field people, they really were setting things up through a charity where guys come out and they get an appearance fee basically for doing the charitable work and stuff. So I think you'll still see some of that, but it's just going to be a little different as far as like if you feel like I'm going to donate a bunch of money to House of Victory and help the football team win, probably won't be able to write that stuff off. So any thoughts on it?
They're just going to write it off. Anyone knows that Seinfeld quote. But, yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about taxes, or I've never paid my taxes. That's a joke. But I don't, know anything about that. But it just seems like it's just still really muddled and confusing a little bit. I felt like I needed you to write that out on a board for me so I can see it.
I could write it out down. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just seems like another headache for people to like kind of overcome and maneuver and shift, and another, okay, well, we can't be, you said they can't be 501 exempt. Is that what it?
So they, the collective itself, you can't have it be, we're a nonprofit. And the point is we collect money from boosters and we pay the players. I think you can have 501c3, nonprofit parts of the collective. Okay. And that's what it seems like House of Victory is doing. They had just filed for it anyway. It's not like they had that status already. But from the people I talked to, they have their lawyers involved and they're, shifting stuff around. It didn't seem like it was going to impact things too much. And from the reports I've read, it seems like certain collectives might be fighting this, and then other ones weren't doing it at all. There was different models, right? You can be a nonprofit or you can't. So it's all kind of confusing.
It just very confusing and more headaches. The only people that are winning are the lawyers and all this. So yeah.
Oh, they're gonna make some
buku bucks.
Yeah, especially when you don't have the kind of defined rules and regulations that you should have, where the NCAA gave it like a one sheet, like, okay, because of the state initiatives.
Yeah.
They're trying to do something so you don't have every state doing everything. I mean, California's got a weird one coming through where players would have to share in the revenue of.
Yeah, we even really got into that too, just like all the states trying to do their own thing. And like, I forget what state it is trying to make it so the NCAA can't crack down on them, or I think it was Tennessee or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's just a lot more can of worms being opened up all over the country with this stuff.
Right. So I'm usually like a free market person, let the market kind of figure it out and go from there. They might need some legislation. The NCAA needed to do something, but they've just been very
passive.
Yeah, they've avoided at all costs trying to pay players. And then once it came through that there was state laws where people are starting to pay players, then they were like, okay, you can do it, but just don't do it this way. And there was really no guidance. They weren't ready. They just didn't even want to think about having a contingency plan that what if this passes and goes through? So then it became the wild, wild west, and it's just kind of a mess. But that's
oh well.
Yeah. All right, that's all the stuffy I had. We're gonna get to some questions. So we're gonna be back. Anything else you had, Chris? Or are you good?
The freshmen have enrolled. That's something that's new. I mean, you don't really talk about it, but yeah, Gavin Morrison posting freshmen have moved in, off to the first day of classes. So yeah, nice to see the new freshman faces on campus and jumping into school and getting acclimated for obviously summer workouts and then PRP soon, and then before you know it, the season. So yeah,
Crazy.
Just the baby-faced freshmen on campus.
Yes, good to see them. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and we will come back and start answering your questions. Back in a minute. All right, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. And we want to get to some of these questions. Anyone that's been doing them in the chat on our YouTube channel, I put a little star there. So we'll start going through them and coming through. We got a few.
Are we rapiding these or just?
Yeah, we can, whatever you feel like.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right, first one, Blackie Chan plays. Take it or leave us. USC will have a top 10 recruiting class for 2024.
Right now, I'm sort of like, take it or leave it. I'm gonna leave it.
Really?
But just barely, like 12 or 11.
Wow.
Okay. I just don't know where the 5-star power is going to come from, I mean, Dylan Raiola is obviously committed. Aiden Breland doesn't seem really interested in USC. Brandon Baker doesn't seem really interested in USC right now. Where's the 5-star power going to come from for this class? That's the only question mark I have right now.
I think you get enough 4s, you can get up there.
Sure, but I think every class needs that defining 5-star. At least for a blue blood, you really need that defining 5-star to kind of like be that anchor point where everyone falls in line. So, I mean, I think it'll be like 11 or 12 maybe without that 5-star power. But again, I got a lot of people probably mad at me in the comments.
Yeah,
but
20K.
10K. It's really close. It's a coin flip for me. They'll probably have it, but I'm just like being 5-star cautious right now.
Okay.
Oh, as a 1-star myself.
All right, I'll take it. I will take this one.
Yeah, that's easy points for you. Just like
I'll be the optimist.
Take the free money,
I'll be the optimist, as Chris is the pessimist about this. Gilbert, just want to know if the football team will be getting new facilities. We had a lot of comments about this.
Well, naturally, because they're like, well, they just got this stadium, so when are the blockers going to be changed?
And if there's a quarterback they have in mind, since Brown is not committing to USC. Any thoughts on the facilities? I think obviously not having an athletic director probably slows things down a little bit if there was planning and things going in place. But it feels like, you have whatever. There was a lot of irons in the fire, I guess you could say. So, I think they're going forward with that. I don't know if we're going to have some kind of announcement anytime real soon, but we know that's something that was important to Lincoln Riley. It'll be important. It was important for Mike Bone. It'll be important for the next athletic director. It's important for the interim people that are helping out right now. So I think that's still moving along, but fans probably won't be happy until they get
new lockers.
Yeah.
New offices.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that's, in the pipeline, but it's like, it helps to get that athletic director in place, get that moving, just so you can have a leader for the project and direction for it. In terms of, not having like a leadership group do it. You want to have that person up front and in charge. So it's going to take a little bit more time, but, it's in the works. And then as far as quarterback, Elijah Brown, Dylan Raiola, Julian Sayin, all these guys that, USC has been interested or has really been interested in. Yeah, I don't really have an answer for where they would go next on their board. We'll have to see if there's an offer out there. Maybe USC wants to get someone to reclassify in 2025. We'll see. Or they're going to just find someone else that he likes. Go watch some tape of people and see who they find. I don't have a quarterback right now on top of my head that I would say, hey, look, I was a big Julian Sayin person, and USC wasn't interested. So, yeah, I mean, that would be my pivot. Obviously, he's very committed to Alabama. But, yeah, there's no, QB right now that I have in my mind that they can pivot to. So we'll have to see if Elijah Brown ends up, in fact, not making it to that final USC official visit on the 23rd. As he has stated, I'm probably not going to make it right now. So we'll see if they can get him back in the fold.
Gotcha. Next one is from Keith. Hey, Ryan, we got a good recruit coming this weekend, a 6'4" corner. Thoughts?
Ryan.
Who's he talking about?
Sione Lefeo.
Okay.
He's a JUCO out of NorCal.
Pretty rare.
I'm saying the last name wrong, but I think it's Sione Leao Lefua, something like that. But yeah, you like 6'4" cornerbacks, don't you?
Why not, man? It's you get that, you're basically the taller you are as a corner, you can kind of limit some of that catch radius, whoever receiver you're facing. So get your arms on some passes. Yeah, that's having a 6'4" corner, not a bad thing.
And USC seems to be moving towards bigger cornerbacks for Big Ten play, bigger receivers, bigger tight ends, obviously. You got Jacoby Covington, who's pretty big. Christian Rolla-Wallace is pretty big. Malachi Crawford, 6'3" kind of quarterback. So they're moving towards, those bigger bodied cornerbacks and longer guys.
Yeah,
the length.
It gives you some options. Like if you have, like a Dalton Kincaid, going off on you, rolling some guys around, to help out a little bit. You got a taller corner like that can help you in different situations. Let's go to Tay. Tay said, Ryan and Chris, what are the chances, quote, in your opinion, of Caleb Williams staying for his senior year and USC's first year in the Big Ten? That could help with quarterback recruiting. If you don't get a recruit, you just keep your Heisman winner another year.
They're asking what are the odds of keeping him?
Yes. Since you coached him in swimming, what were your thoughts?
Look, I know people have started bringing this up, bring him back for another year. I know he even teased it a little bit.
Kinda, it's sort of his fault.
It's not. I just don't see it happening. If you're projected to be the number one pick, you have to go.
Yeah.
You have to go. Look what happened to Matt Barkley. You have to go. You just have to.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to pay him $100 million to stay in college, you have to go.
I mean, it would have to be some crazy NIL deal. But, I don't know. It just depends on what if they get super close to winning a national championship. I mean, who knows? But I don't think this is going to happen at all. But he's a different cat,
Sure, he's a different cat, but still, going number one is
you can't turn that down.
You can't turn that down.
People have been jonesing to, they're tanking this year to try to get Caleb Williams, is what the thoughts are. Along those lines, Blackie Chan says, if USC makes a playoff with Caleb putting up similar stats, do you think he could repeat as the Heisman winner?
Obviously, Heisman fatigue is a thing.
Yes.
Ryan is a literal Heisman voter.
I do vote on this.
He knows. Yes, he knows. So it's going to have to take, I think, a little bit more plus the playoff. It's got to be a little bit better plus the playoff.
Which is, he did leave some wiggle room, as ridiculous as his numbers were. I think the hardest one will be the 5 picks, because that's really, but, he threw for 42 touchdowns. Joe Burrow threw for 60. If Caleb Williams throws for 50 something touchdowns and runs for 12 more or something, or 10 more, and has, his efficiency was, I think, the best in USC history, but still there was upside there. So I feel like
he's only a sophomore too.
He's got upside as far as the numbers go, but if also USC is making the playoffs, so I feel it's a combination of he's got to be even a little more efficient, put up some more gaudy numbers, as gaudy as they were last year. He could be gaudier, and then USC does better. This is as good of a shot of repeating at Heisman, as a Heisman winner that I've seen for a while, And you could argue Archie Griffin didn't deserve it when he did it. But I think there's a chance of this. It's hard to do. He'd have to stay healthy. His numbers have to be better. USC would have to do better than 11-1 regular season, like go and take it to the next level by winning the Pac-12 and go into the playoff. Yeah.
There's still wiggle room. There's still meat on the bone in terms of his stats. You're right. The 5 interceptions is going to be tough to best or keep pace with. But he also has a tougher schedule this year. So he has a built-in resume builder of a season, to beat Washington, to beat Utah, to beat Oregon on the road, to beat Notre Dame on the road. There's a lot of really good resume builder points on this schedule. And then obviously, if they could get the Pac-12 championship, which they came up short for last year, that's obviously a big resume booster. And then making the playoff, all things that can, outside of the stats, that can really push him back to New York.
Yeah. He also wanted to know, do you think USC's reached out to Reggie Bush to be a host for recruits?
Interesting.
Yeah, because Troy Polamalu there. It's not like he's working right now. So
isn't there some dispute with his contract?
I don't know.
I saw something about they're looking to replace him because there's some kind of dispute going on.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I just saw that the other day. I'm blanking on who the other person is they're trying to break out. If someone knows in the chat, but I just saw like a headline on Twitter where there's some sort of like contract dispute with Fox or something. So
okay,
he might be having a lot more free time. So I would assume, and they used USC did use his graphic for their official visit weekend, like the best in California come to USC or something like that.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're becoming more and more comfortable using him as part of their recruiting strategy. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they've had some talks about, bringing him in for, I wouldn't be surprised if he was there this weekend, given that they bring in big names all the time, and they did last year for this weekend.
All right. We still got a bunch more. We'll try to rapid fire these a little bit.
Okay.
Trunks. When does fall camp start?
Ooh, we don't have an official date, but it's going to be earlier than normal because of the week 0 schedule.
I think end of July is probably going to be somewhere in that range because you got the week 0 game. Yeah. So
earlier than usual is what I can say.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull up the next one. This one's from Mark. What's going on with Elijah Brown? Seems like he and Lincoln Riley are not so high on each other. So we kind of touched on this a little bit. Doesn't seem like he's not in USC's. He's not in the top schools, right? He's not going to officially visit USC anymore.
Well, he was, and it looked like USC was in the pole position and the lead position, and then he took the Stanford visit, and now it's like, yeah, I don't think I want to take that visit. So a lot of things are going on with modern day kids. Same thing with DeAndre Carter. Swapped his visit out for Auburn instead of USC. We thought maybe that was a commitment visit for him.
Yeah.
And then, Brandon Baker is just really fallen off with USC. And so, yeah, the modern day and USC pipeline is not in a great position right now.
No.
We'll see if they can fix that, and maybe they can swing it back and get him to actually take that visit at the end.
Big T37 says, who does the Maryland fan base resemble in the Pac-12?
Who does the Maryland fan base resemble? This is a really good question.
I think it's a good question, yeah.
Oh, well, it can't be Oregon because Maryland actually has a national championship.
Oh, burn.
But we do have the uniform stuff.
Right, you got the Under Armour.
That was a burn. I'm glad people picked up on that. We have the 1953 national championship. Boom. Okay, so it's a program that has history, good recruiting area. This is so tough. This is on the spot. My first guess is like
Oregon's more recent, so I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. There are things that about Oregon that.
And Maryland won a basketball national championship in like 2000, right?
Yes. Does
impressed
UCLA
with
have a
that?
national championship?
In football, I think 54 or something, like when Gary Beeben Heisman time. I think so.
I mean, UCLA is kind of an interesting comparison. Lefty Drizel, our famous basketball coach, did say he wanted to make Maryland UCLA of the East.
There you go.
So just like off the cuff, I think UCLA is a good comp because they've had success in football. They've had success in basketball, obviously. Not saying Maryland basketball is as good as UCLA basketball, but we have some Final Fours. We have a national championship. So both public schools. So, yeah. I would say that.
Okay.
And they were both Under Armour.
Yeah, except UCLA sued to get out of that. Aaron, so the unofficial visitors come during the weekend, and if so, will they get the same treatment as official visitors?
Unofficial visitors?
Yeah, unofficial visitors don't get the same treatment. So
You'll
you can
get
come
tours.
whenever.
You can't get like your stuff paid for or anything like that. They won't put you up in a hotel room. So yeah, there's the big difference. So they won't be going to Nobu, on USC's dime.
No, they can't do that.
They'll just be there for the day.
But now you can take as many official visits as you want, but the schools still only have a limited number, so you can't just you'd be like, oh, I'm going to officially visit USC, and they're like, USC's like, no, you're not a high enough profile recruit. We're not just paying for the tab. I mean, they probably would, except they have a limited number, so they want to make sure they're bringing in guys that.
Yeah, kids have unlimited. Schools are limited.
Right. So schools don't want to just do that. He also wants to know, do you think we have stadium renovations? Well, we can have stadium renovations because the bigger Big Ten stadiums can hold at least 100,000 minus Nebraska and Wisconsin. No, they've already done the stadium renovations. They're not doing
it again.
They're not like they took away a bunch of seats. They're not adding seats back.
Yeah.
So that's definitely not a USC thing to do. K.O. Capone says, I see 3 running backs leaving this year. Can we see USC take 3 running backs in this year's recruiting class?
I would say definitely 2 high schools, and I would say they would dip into the portal for that other one. Because you'll want someone a little bit older.
Yeah.
Especially with the Big Ten season.
Space out the class.
Yeah, I could definitely see them bringing in 3 running backs, whether that's 2 high school, 1 transfer, or maybe even 2 transfers. So we'll see.
Yeah. Let's go touchdown USC. There are a large number of Big Ten alums in California. How large of a tarp will the Bruins use at their Rose Bowl for the Big Ten conference games? Dang. No, they'll sell those seats, but they're going to sell them to the opponent. I mean, that's going to happen somewhat at USC too, though. You'll see some of it, but a larger extent at UCLA, yes. Like, you don't need tarps because you have people that live here that will come to the game. So I don't think that's I don't think that'll be an issue. Well, I mean, it could be an issue, but not. They'll sell the seats because it's Big Ten games. And when Minnesota comes to Los Angeles, that's like a big deal. They're all going to want to come out here. John, over under. USC will have a new athletic director by San Jose State kickoff. Under for me.
Under.
Yeah. I mean, the season's 3 months away. I think you're going to have someone. My guess is you're going to have someone in the next 3 months.
Under.
And then I think there's one last one. Unless I'm missing one of the other ones. Touchdown USC says, how many 1,000-yard receivers will the Trojans have this year?
I'm going to say...
Last year was 1, or was it just Addison, right?
It was just Addison.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say Dorian Singer and somebody else. Low-key, Taj Washington. Low-key, Taj Washington.
All right. I think I would agree with you. I would go 2 also. I feel like...
There's a lot of mouths to feed. A lot of them could do it.
Yeah.
Mario Williams can make that jump. Brendan Rice obviously could have a 1,000-yard season. I think Dorian Singers has the best chance. But, yeah, there's just a lot of mouths to feed. But I think 2 is like the safe.
I think 2 is a good number. It could be, literally could be none, and they could still have a very successful season because there are a lot of mouths to feed. But I
could
feel
have like a 900, 800, 3 700s,
yes,
like a 400 and a 600,
And all of them having handfuls of touchdowns and stuff. But, I feel like when the dust settles, you're going to see a couple guys get a lot of balls. Now, maybe there are going to be some injuries. We saw Addison miss some time. It just happened. Like, you saw some guys miss a bunch of time. But I feel like at the end of the day, you're going to get like 2 guys that end up going over 1,000 yards. I think Caleb's going to have bigger numbers than last year too. And having a better defense is going to help as well. Sweet. All right. Well, I think that's it. Good stuff, everybody.
Ready to do our screen grab?
Oh, yeah. What do you want to do?
Let's hug. Because we're back.
Like hug?
Yeah, like we're going for the embrace.
I don't know if you can see my arms.
Can you see my arms?
Yeah, hold on.
This is the most awkward part of the show.
This is very awkward. Okay.
Okay.
You'll
make it work.
We'll figure something
You'll
out.
do something with that.
Yes.
Not our best, but let's go.
The hugging screen grab. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to the Peristyle Podcast. Like I said, check out the site, uscfootball.com, 60% off an annual membership. Less than a cup of coffee per month, and you can get all kinds of access. Just think about that. $3 and something cents per month, and you can get all the insider information at uscfootball.com. Just the war room on Friday mornings are enough. That should whet your appetite for the week coming up. And, you go to the water cooler at your office, boom. You're going to be more informed than all the USC fans that are in your office. So they'll be like, where'd you learn about that? And you're like, I know people. And you know us, and you know uscfootball.com. And thank you for liking, subscribing on our YouTube channel, on the Peristyle Podcast pages, across the podcasting platforms, wherever you listen. We do appreciate that. It's a lot of fun to be able to reach you guys multiple times a week with all the different shows we do. I love all the feedback, love all the questions. So thank you all for doing that. So for Chris Trevino, I am Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.